Okay, we're tying my articulated ice pick. The only difference between this one and the standard ice pick is we're going to use a different style of hook. Opposed to the SP11, we're going to use a B10S for the two hooks on this fly. This one's a size 2 for the rear portion. Just going to lay down a nice little thread base here. After we do that, we're going to attach our 50-pound piece of mono for our mono loop on the back end of the fly, as we did in the first version, to prevent that tail from fouling. Once we secure that on either side of the shank, we're going to take 2 marabou plumes, just like we did in the original version. Secure those down, just like we did before. Get ourselves a nice little piece of rabbit strip. Pull the fibers back away from the hide. Secure it with 3 to 4 good thread wraps. And as like I said before, that mono loop will give us a nice base to attach our wing to, so it doesn't roll around on the shank of the hook, as long as you maintain that loop on either side of the hook check. Just like we did in the first video, I'm going to clip that rabbit strip with a double-edged razor just inside the tips of the marabou. Going to attach our sparkle brush. As you see here, secure it down the shank of the hook, and then once we've done that, we're just going to palmer it in open wraps to about 1 eye's length behind the eye. Clip it, mash the barb, bend it, comb out the sparkle fiber from the sparkle brush, then kind of preen it down so that it flows backwards towards the rear of the fly. Once we've done that and we're happy with it, we'll pull the remainder of our rabbit strip over, forward towards the eye, do a couple of turns, lift up the front end, clip it, and then do a few more thread wraps. And then as you do in the standard ice pick, grab a small clump of laser dub, much smaller than you did in the collar on the original ice pick. This is just enough to create a smooth transition point between the rear portion of the fly and the front portion of the fly. As we did on the original version, we're going to do a clump on the top and on the bottom. Work finish, and then we're going to grab about a 4-inch piece of 19 strand beadalon. This is what we're going to use for our connection piece. And then we're going to slip 2 E or large size glass beads onto the beadalon to help us separate our connection. It's going to be a very crucial portion of the fly here in a minute, so you have to really pay attention here. Because if you don't set this up right, you're not going to have a right connection. And because this fly has a definitive top and bottom to it, you want to make sure that you get this right, as you see here. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to put our front hook, which is a B10S size 1 in the vise, lay a thread base down, as you see here, left enough space for that skull. As you can tell, both pieces of the wire are adjacent to each other. Now if you see here, if you look at this fly, as I pull it straight, the beadalon runs perpendicular to the eye of the rear hook. So I do that, I'm going to secure it while maintaining the beadalon on top of the shank. Clip it. I'll add a little bit of super glue. Then I'm just going to wrap a nice thread base over that entire piece of that wire. That's just to further secure that in place so that this rear portion doesn't pull out. Now if you don't do this particular section of this fly correctly, as you see here, you're going to get a fly that's not going to track properly, and especially with a fly like this that has a definitive top and bottom, it's not going to come out right. It'll be crooked. Next thing I'm going to do after I get that secure, get another piece of marabou, tie it in by the tip, palmer it forward, 2 to 3 turns over the top of the stem, 2 and 3 in front, clip off the excess, and then I'm just going to lay down a nice little thread base going back towards my rear portion of the fly. where my thread starts or stops in the shank portion of this hook. This is just going to smooth out that transition in between the rear and front portion of the fly. And then, as I did before, I'm going to get my rabbit strip, secure it, just as we did in the first part. And then I'm going to make sure that I cut it with my razor so that this rabbit strip bleeds right into the rear portion, as you see here. And the next step is going to be just like we did in the front or the rear portion of this fly. Tie another piece of sparkle brush, palmer it forward, and then we're going to brush it out and preen it downwards. Pinch the stainless steel barb down from the wire, the thumb, pull your rabbit strip forward, clip it, and now we're going to use an overly generous couple of clumps of laser dub. One on top, a little bit of red for the throat on the bottom, another clump of the same color I've used on the top. See here, preen it backwards. Then we're going to whip finish. Move on to our head section. Take our small medium skull, size it up, looks good, pop it back off. A little super glue in there. Pop that head back on. Reattach a different colored thread this time. I used a darker colored head on this particular one. Whip finish, and then we're done. And that's your fly. As you see here, it's jointed. Get a lot more of a swimming motion out of it. I changed the hook styles on the articulated version from my original video. I really prefer the B10S. I think it gives me a better profile, more baitfish-like, larger hook gap. And there's several different colors you can see to tie this in. Very, very easy to alter it. And as you can see here, gives you about a 4.5-inch fly. Enjoy. I'd like to take the time to thank my sponsors, Regal Vice, manufacturers of the world's best fly tying vices and accessories.